take projection.
It's Friday morning, and you know what that means? It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And let's get into it, man. We've gone through our pre-show notes, and we are ready to get fired up. We do have something fun planned for next week, so y'all be sure to check in if you were in the North Alabama area specifically. And if you're not in the North Alabama area, I think you'll still have a good time. But we want to start off with some Smackdown action from last Friday. A very interesting match between Montez Ford and LA Knight for qualifier for Money in the Bank. An interesting pairing between those two, and LA Knight got the win.
Yeah, because you would think about if there are two guys who are probably deserving of some kind of singles push, these are the two dudes, and you put them in a match together.
Yeah, they're the two that, I mean, people have been predicting Montez to split off and go solo for a little while, and then despite WWE cranking in boos in the crowd,
yeah,
LA Knight is still over as hell.
Yeah, before we get on to LA Knight, Montez Ford, what do you think the hesitation is?
I don't know. I mean, I've been hearing for a fucking year that he could go on his own.
Yeah, because, the big thing was it last year at SummerSlam? It was the Street Profits and the Usos, and people were like, oh, maybe Montez turns on Angelo at this point. And then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, well, it's coming soon.
Well, and then they put a little shine on him, giving him some big spots in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, here it is.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to win. We're not saying he has to win Money in the Bank, but like he can be in the match, can he?
It is a little weird that if they're not fixing to do or have you would think that they would have pushed him as a solo guy before putting him in a qualifier for Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah. So it was odd to see this pairing.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, yeah, I think the right guy won, all things considered. LA Knight. LA Knight seems to be very divisive amongst the internet wrestling community. Some people, like me and you, I think are all in. There are others who will say, I've heard this thrown around quite a bit this week, that he's derivative. All his stuff is, catchphrases from other people, but I don't buy that critique, because if you go through the list of just wrestling superstars, right? Like, let's take Hulk Hogan, for example. In a lot of ways, Hulk Hogan is just derivative of superstar Billy Graham.
Yeah, he even said so.
Right? Yeah. Let's look at somebody like Ric Flair. In a lot of ways, Ric Flair is just derivative of Gorgeous George. You know what I mean? But nobody throws those labels around on those guys at all. And I mean, and those are just two well-known examples. I mean, shit, you can go down the list of people who have stolen and taken things and made it their own from wrestlers throughout history.
I mean, I can see the Stone Cold comparisons, and I ain't mad at it, but he's not out there like chugging beers and shit like that. Like, he's got the bravado, and he says, a couple things that sound reminiscent of Stone Cold, but that's about it, right? The best, maybe.
Yeah, and also like the people like him.
Does he go hard in the ring? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's fucking move on.
Yeah. So I don't understand. Like, in a lot of ways, the fan reaction is the final judge, and clearly the fans love this guy. So then that's all that really kind of matters, I guess. Now we'll see if more of the internet wrestling community ends up turning on him or whatever. But I don't even know how many people who are straight up WWE fans are that hardcore online like that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the fan base of WWE is children and dads who probably don't live online the way you and I do. Now, if this was AEW, it'd probably be different, right? But then again, like the Young Bucks, their whole act is that they're derivative of all kinds of other people, and people love them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there have been Hangman Page comparisons saying he's, a Stone Cold Steve Austin ripoff, but he doesn't. He dropped the beer chugging thing a while back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't done that in a year and a half.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's good to see LA Knight get the win. Now he is in the Money in the Bank. I don't know if he will win. He wouldn't be my choice.
Who else is in so far? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's all been kind of uneventful to me.
Yeah, there really hasn't been. And like this is probably the first time in maybe a lot of years where there's not like a clear, because of the way the title pictures are set up. Seth Rollins just won it. Roman Reigns is the champion embroiled in his own storyline. There's not really anybody who's kind of like, oh, this dude, like he's going to be the guy. And like they're going to put stock in him.
Yeah. And we don't have to get too deep into it, but I sent you a text the other day. It's like, well, it looks like Becky's going to probably win Money in the Bank, because there was a headline a couple of different places that said, like, after the show, Becky Lynch expresses regret about never winning Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
she'll probably win.
Yeah.
Probably not a bad spot for her to be in either. You know?
No.
But yeah, on the women's side, it's maybe a little bit more clear. On the men's side, I don't really know. That's why I threw out Dominik last week. Because I was like, Dominik is a guy who can win it and doesn't have to win the title. And it would still help his character get over. Because he could try to cash in on Seth, and Seth just beat the shit out of him, right? Curb stomp him, 1, 2, 3. Dominik loses. It only adds to Dominik's character.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't hurt it. You can't do that with an LA Knight. You're going to stop his momentum.
Yeah. We've got a little bit to touch on about old Dom when we get to Raw. But yeah, I was excited. I honestly, like, going into LA Knight versus Montez Ford, I was like, well, who are they going to give it to? Because it could go either way, honestly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been mad at either outcome. But I was happy to see it. I would have been happy to see Montez Ford win as well. But
and here's the thing,
I think maybe let's save that for another time.
And here's the thing about LA Knight. This dude has been perhaps one of the most unluckiest people who have been called up to the main roster in a while. I mean, outside of dudes who have gotten seriously injured. He is the first victim of the Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, whatever the hell that was. Okay.
Yeah.
Could have killed anybody else's momentum, just didn't. Okay. LA Knight came out of looking like Teflon.
Yeah, because Bray Wyatt is nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found. LA Knight still really hasn't had anything to do since then. And yet every time he comes out, the audience reactions get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
They did kind of fuck up the Mania thing with letting him have a moment.
Yeah. He has no moment at WrestleMania either. Yeah. So, like, in spite of everything WWE has tried to do, this dude is still persevering.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't know shit about him until just a couple months ago. And at first I was like, who is this fucking guy?
Yeah.
But, like, you know, watch a couple matches, watch a couple promos. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Like
the first 3-4 weeks, I was like, whatever. And it didn't take very long to win me over.
It's once you give the guy a microphone.
Yeah.
That's when it works.
Yeah. Well, let's get into probably the highlight of the evening from SmackDown. I'm just going to read my notes and then we can go back. So, you know, they had the 1,000-day celebration for Roman Reigns. Roman wants Jay to kick Jimmy in the face. Jimmy tells Roman he hasn't been a good brother lately. Jimmy tells Roman he's gone crazy. He tells Solo that Roman is going to use and betray him. Roman gives the mic to Solo. Solo acknowledges Roman and then says, but these two right here, they're my brothers. And then Solo switches sides, exclamation point. Keep in mind, this is around, 8:30? And I'm probably about on my third glass of bourbon at this point. And then Jimmy asks Roman if he wants to run things with respect. Roman says, shut your mouth. Jimmy Pie faces Roman. I love Jimmy Pie facing Roman.
Yeah. They get a holy shit chant from the crowd.
Can't get enough of that. And Jimmy says, be our brother, Oos. We the bloodline. We family, right? Roman gets all emotional. He and Jimmy hug it out. And then Roman says, no. Solo takes out Jimmy, and then he leaves with Roman.
Fantastic stuff all the way around. A roller coaster of emotions. This continues to just be the greatest thing going in wrestling right now.
Yeah, and we're beyond Sami Zayn. They've left that behind at this point.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is the whole storyline. Well, no, it's...
Yeah. And to their testament, they have continued this thing, the hot streak of it, to where it never gets boring. I mean, this is just, at this point, I don't know what we need to keep saying. Like, these dudes are just great. All these dudes are great. Even Solo's little moment, like, he had a moment to speak. He switches sides, and the crowd went ape shit, right?
Exclamation point.
You put an exclamation point in there. It's fantastic stuff. Jimmy, I'm glad Jimmy's getting a little bit more of the spotlight now, because it was Jay for quite a bit. Jay and Sammy obviously were the driver of this story for the longest time.
It's still going to be the best, though, when Jay turns.
Yeah. Yeah. And even when you saw just how good Jay is Friday night with his ability to convey emotion without needing the microphone, with just facial expressions, with looks of anguish, with just screaming, at these two guys. He is absolutely fantastic. You talk about rising to the occasion, like where the Usos and where these dudes are at 3-4 years ago compared to where they are now.
They were just getting DUIs every other week.
Well, there was that in their personal life.
I mean, let's be real.
But then in WWE, like, you can make it like they were kind of stale, right? They've been there for a long time. They were tag team champs, multiple times over. But I mean, they were just there. But there was nothing there. You know what I mean? And then they team up with Roman and this thing now over the course of how are we going on 2 years? How long are we going on this thing? This same thing started in the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right. Because I kind of tuned out around that point. I was watching it when the Thunderdome started, and then I got out of it. But I saw a clip somewhere the other day. It was kind of, I guess, when this whole thing started.
Yeah. So
I was like, oh shit.
I mean, we're talking months,
and
years.
It was weird watching that, because with no crowd, they got to be way more subtle, and you could hear every little thing, and it was weird watching it.
And I think honestly, them being in the Thunderdome at the start of this was probably a benefit for what you just said. Their ability to be subtle, and them recognizing that, fans are paying attention to this. They're paying attention when we're talking to each other in the ring. And so let's pipe in the, production sound from the ring. You even saw that Friday night, right? Paul Heyman and Roman get up to the ramp, and then Paul leans in, right? And it's just the on-camera mic that's picking them up. Those things are cool because it brings you more into that universe. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, I'd hate to be the guy running sound on those nights. Like, and it's all labeled pretty clearly, I'm sure, but like, it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. But that's something that WWE didn't really do, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. They weren't doing those types of things, having those type of beats in their story. And so, I think having the Thunderdome where everything really got quiet helped that, and they've kind of carried it over, which has been really great.
Yeah, I saw where, I guess a few days ago, Sami Zayn said that, like, this storyline is basically going to be the new gold standard moving forward, right? And it's hard to argue.
This is when you were talking about what pro wrestling can be. What is the apex of it narratively, right? Because we know what it can be, the action inside the ring. This will be the modern day example that people turn to and be like, this is what you can do when you get a great story with, great guys who have outstanding chemistry together. And this story, it's built upon the elements that all great stories are built upon, right? Family, trust, love, betrayal. It's Shakespearean. It's got everything. It's Samoan Shakespeare. That's what it is.
Samoan Shakespeare. That's the episode title right there.
And then it leaves you wanting more, right? Because is Solo actually aligned with Roman? Are the Usos and Solo, working behind the scenes, and this is all a big ruse to finally get Roman? Like, what is it? What's Jay gonna do?
That's a good question, because I did find it odd that after all of his faithfulness to Roman, he switches for essentially 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That was a lot to think about. Like, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think he's full on turned yet. I think he just wanted to I don't know. I think he wanted to show solidarity with his brothers, but at the same time, like he fucked him over.
Yeah, he could. And the question in the booking room is, are we, once Roman finally leaves or goes even more part-time than what he is right now, we are going to be void of a top-tier heel. And so if we think Solo can be that guy, then there's a lot of utility of keeping Roman and Solo together.
Yeah, good point. I mean, Gunther is obviously a top-tier heel.
Right.
If
but
you
with
want to move
brand,
him up into
a brand split, too. So
yeah,
you kind of need one on both things, or semi-brand, whatever the fuck. Yeah. Is it a brand split?
They said it was going to be super serious brand split, and they have not.
Yeah.
Like, who's supposed to be on SmackDown? Oh, I just saw it. Like, somebody from Raw is supposed to be on SmackDown tomorrow night. Okay, so you're this is bullshit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the only reason.
It's funny that I'm worked up about that because this is all bullshit essentially. But it's not because we care about it. But I understand they got stories to tell. But don't put shit out there and say it's going to be a true brand split.
Yeah.
And then week 2 you bring AJ Styles on to Raw.
Yeah. So we'll see what the next chapter of this Bloodline saga has. Last thing about this though, I will say, I kind of hope that Roman carries all 3 belts around and it's just like, I don't give a damn what Triple H says. Like, these are my belts and I'm just going to keep carrying them. And Paul Heyman just carries 2 and then Roman carries the one around his waist. And we just, and also too, other side little note, for all the people that gave AEW shit for having too many belts, I mean, my God, that argument's way out the window now, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
I mean, you can't even make that argument anymore.
At least you got different like categories. You got like trios, tag team.
Well, you
got a TV championship, and then now you got goddamn Intercontinental and.
But the thing about the AEW people are like, oh, there's too many belts on TV, and I was always like, yeah, but they're not AEW's belts, right? Like the guys in New Japan who are coming over with belts, they're just wearing those New Japan belts. Like, yeah, it's being defended on AEW TV, but like, it's kind of cool that there's other belts and other things being shown. And then, people use that as a sticking point against AEW. Now WWE we've unveiled 2 belts in 2 months. So, yeah, maybe. Just realize that all this stuff is new merchandising, right?
Yeah.
More ways to make money.
Let's sell some replicas.
Yeah. So.
Then let's sell some $15 replicas for kids.
Yeah, but I've yet to see the tweet, WWE has too many belts.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the bots, like Tony Khan said.
So speaking of belts, let's switch over to Raw. And a shocking yet awesome match that was announced. Kevin Owens just said, fuck it, let's go on TV and wrestle. There's a ring out there to Gunther.
Yeah.
Love it.
Kevin Owens becoming a little unhinged every week, and I love it. Yeah, the angrier Kevin Owens is, the better. Also, I just love that he continues to be the only wrestler who just knows how wrestling works. Like, if I just walk out to the ring, we get to have a match. Doesn't matter what the rest of the show is.
Yeah.
If I just walk out there, it's going to happen.
Yeah, because they were backstage, and he's like, come on, we'll do this right now. Cut to his music hits, he walks out, and we're like, okay, well.
Yeah. What would have been even funnier is if he would have been passing by Gorilla. Adam Pearce would have tried to stop him. He said, "No, I'm going to the ring." And then Adam's like, "All right, it's official.
Hit Gunther's music. Yeah. Let's make this official."
Yeah. So yeah, this was great. Fantastic match.
Yeah.
Gunther can work with anybody. I'm still not sure that he's not the greatest wrestler in the world right now. I haven't seen a lot of people say that, but given the confines that he has to work in,
I think if his promo skills were better, yes, he'd be definitely up top.
Well, in ring, I'm talking about in ring. Yeah, I'm talking about in ring. He might be the best in the world right now.
I mean, it's tough to argue.
I mean, listen, there's Ospreay, there's Omega, there's Danielson, there's a lot of good guys, right?
Look, I'm not saying he's the best. He is in the he's in the ballpark, or he's in the ring with these dudes.
He is a name that should belong in that conversation that doesn't get brought up because he is in WWE. And I'm just saying, every time this guy has a match, it is outstanding. And given what he has to work with, which is he can't bleed, right? They're not doing crazy high spots. You can't go through tables randomly all the fucking time.
On a Wednesday.
He's just amazing every time against multitude of opponents, right? Kevin Owens, more of a brawler. Ali at Night of Champions, high flyer, outstanding. Sheamus, brawler. Like, it doesn't matter. Dude just delivers. Also, love Ludwig Kaiser's catch of his fucking ring jacket.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Like, I've noticed it in the past, but it stood out the other night.
Yeah. And Kaiser is also, like, it's fantastic outside the ring. Like, it's a skill set to be able to be outside the ring and be entertaining and not completely take over the match.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a way to do it where, like, you take away from the action that's happening on in the ring. But he just has this, like, prance, and, like, his shoulders are up really high, and he keeps his hand a certain way. And he just has little sayings, and it works.
General.
Yeah, like, it's outstanding. Imperium needs another guy, I think, and there's been rumors that they might get another one. Shit, now I'm blanking on the dude's name. He just had that great match in NXT that a lot of people told me I needed to watch.
Yeah,
Dragic is the thing. Anyway, there's another European dude in NXT who has a similar style that some people think is going to get called up and placed inside Imperium.
Yeah, so Gunther gets the win via some shenanigans from Kaiser. Still a good, fun, entertaining match. When it looked like it was fixing to happen, I was like, oh my God, please give us this match.
And that's the only way you can book that, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want Kevin Owens to eat a pin. Gunther obviously can't get pinned. Or you don't want Kevin Owens to eat a pin clean, I should say.
Right.
So you have the interference, and everybody comes out better for it.
So the next thing on the list is Cody and Dom are in the ring. You know, Cody was cutting a promo, I guess, and Dom and Rhea come out.
Oh, Miz invited him.
Yeah, that's right. On Miz TV. And then Cody says, "You have a worse prison tattoo than me." Love it. And then there was some speculation, is Brandy coming back, because she tweeted afterward that Cody wouldn't hit a woman, but she would.
Yeah, no, she's not going to come back. She should not come back. Let me say that. Just don't. You know?
Yeah.
Not everybody can do this. It's all right.
Dom is still probably the most hated man in the world. And did you notice last night on Dynamite, didn't work quite as well because the heat wasn't there quite as much, but Don Callis tried I'm fixing to talk, but I'm going to stop because the crowd is too loud. Yeah. They weren't too loud last night. They were hating on Don Callis. Yeah. No doubt, but it wasn't Dom levels.
It's not. No, Dom level is nuclear. You know, Don Callis is, I don't even know what you would, what kind of heat level he would have. Like a hot chicken wing or something. I mean,
he ain't Dom.
Nashville hot.
Yeah.
Nashville hot chicken.
He ain't ghost pepper like Dom.
No. I mean, I was giddy during this entire thing because I was like, this is the perfect way. Cody is the most over babyface in the company. And it says a lot about Dom that they're like, all right, we'll just give you a promo with
just slap
with this
the
guy.
Shit out of Cody.
And I love his bitch slap where he sneaks, and then bam, smacks him. It's fantastic.
Jumps behind Ripley.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it again. Dominik Mysterio should win Money in the Bank. He just should. There's no other guy right now that is doing what he's doing. And he knows that you can see the confidence in him too. I think that is the big, when we talk about what's been the biggest shift from Dominik over these past 18 months, I think it's just a confidence level. And, that just comes from repetition and probably being around and being able to be a bad guy. You get to have a little bit more fun. Obviously, being around Ripley and Finn and Damian Priest has helped as well. And look, we'll see what happens with the Judgment Day. I'm sure after this segment, we'll talk about Damien and Seth Rollins, but Damien and Seth Rollins promo at the beginning, Finn Balor's there. Is there some dissension brewing amongst the Judgment Day?
Yeah, I mean that's next on the list. Let's get there. That's where I was going to. Is there going to be a little tension there because they hinted at it during the show because at the end of the match, Priest was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
When Finn interferes, and then apparently when they went off the air, Seth called Damien back to the ring to shake his hand.
Yeah.
So do we see a potential turn, a baby face turn from Priest in the not too distant future?
Could be. Could be. Obviously, Finn and Seth have a history with each other. They, Seth being the antagonist that he is, was, egging that on with Finn at the beginning of Monday Night Raw. You kind of just saw a different side of Damien Monday night. So, is he going to be turn babyface? Is Judgment Day going to turn on him? How is that going to work? I guess we'll see. This was a great match. And also, I think I read this was the first time that the world title has been defended on Raw in over 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, interesting choice because he just won this belt.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah. But they've made it a case now, like they've said, like this is going to be the working man's title. So they are making a clear distinction between what has happened with Roman Reigns and his title run versus what's going to happen with this new belt. And I sent you this earlier in the week. I was like, we've now seen CM Punk in modern day WWE, who's had an enormous run, right? Obviously, Roman Reigns has passed 1,000 days as WWE champion, Universal champ, whichever one of the championships he's had. And I was like, what? This feels like a thing they didn't used to do, right? We just got done. Bianca had the longest modern day women's title run. Gunther,
a little over a year, right?
Gunther is now almost approaching a year, maybe a little over a year, Intercontinental title.
Yeah, because they keep making a big deal about, will he break the Honky Tonk Man, his run?
Yeah, so I was like, I'm going to do a little bit of research and compare. And I was like, well, probably the best place to go to kind of see how things used to be is to the Attitude Era, right? Say what you want about, a lot of people think that the Attitude Era was both the commercial apex of pro wrestling as well as the artistic apex. Whether I believe, the Attitude Era was the best artistically for professional wrestling, that's, we can talk about that in a later podcast. There definitely is no denying that it was the time when the most people in history were ever watching wrestling. And so you have to think about why that was. And the biggest drawing point with the Attitude Era is that every time you turned on the TV, you had no idea what was going to happen, right? It was paced like a car crash, basically.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's no better way to talk about the unpredictability of the Attitude Era than to look at the lineage of the WWF Championship and the length of the title reigns. So I was like, I have to find a point here. So I'm looking through Wikipedia right now. Shawn Michaels won the belt January 19th, 1997. He had to vacate it due to an injury February 13th, 1997. So we are going to start February 16th, 1997. I'm just going to read you. I'm not going to read all the names, but I'm just going to read you the length of the title runs for what's basically the Attitude Era. So starting, Bret Hart wins it in February 97. He holds it for 1 day. Then we have 34 days, 133, 98, 140, 91, 1, 90. It's vacated, 44, 26, 2, 20, 41, 56, 36, 55, 1. That has taken us to 1999. It's just 2 years.
So on average, they're anywhere between a month to 3 months, and then you had a 144 in there, which was the longest, right?
And then you go 22, 6, vacate, 49, 50, 1, and then 118. It's really until you get to the early 2000s when they make the switch to WWE, and the longest one is JBL held it for 280 days. John Cena beats him at WrestleMania. He holds it for 280 days. And then you get the random sporadic. There's an Edge thrown in there. And then it goes back to Cena that holds it for 380 days. So my point is, like, this is just it. It was a different way in the Attitude Era to tell stories. And I think one of the things that has hurt pro wrestling in modern day is that a lot of it feels predictable. And a lot of Roman Reigns' run, as great as it has been, and obviously this Bloodline stuff is the height of it. And this Bloodline story really does need the title for it to feel as important as it does.
And let's be real, they're not going to finish this thing until Mania next year.
Yeah.
Anything before Mania would seem weird.
But did anybody think like that random Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns feud that like Kevin had any shot of winning the title? No. Like you go through the list of modern day Roman Reigns opponents from this 1,000-day title reign, there's not a lot of them that felt up in the air. Drew at Clash of the Castle, people are like, maybe he's got an outside shot. But that's just a far cry from what was happening in the Attitude Era from 97 to 2000, where,
weird.
You know,
so
Mankind wanted that gift that everybody plays with Stone Cold coming. That was a Monday Night Raw. You know, that was the turning point in the Monday Night War.
I don't want to spend too much time on it because we've talked about this a lot over the last several months, but why do you think that they were just like, fuck it, we're going all in on Roman for like 3 years? Because that's essentially what's happening, right?
Yeah, I don't know. And you would have to think about, has that also hurt their ability to make new stars? Because one of the things about this Attitude Era is like, you know, this is when Mankind really made his name. Foley.
It's going to look real weird if you turn around at Mania next year, put it on Cody, and then after 2 months be like, let's switch gears to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because then that makes Cody look like a bitch. Like,
yeah, it only makes him look like a bitch, though, because of the way you've told stories here recently.
Right.
Like, if this was the Attitude Era, and Cody held it for 2 months and got screwed out, and another heel won the title, you'd just be like, oh, well, this is what happened. Like, so, anything can happen.
Are they going too far?
I don't know. It's a good question. And now that was my point of bringing this back, and to bring it back to Seth Rollins' thing, is that now that you have a new world title, I'm curious to see how they book this thing in relation to Roman Reigns' title run. Like, is this a thing where Seth is only going to have it for 3 months, and the next guy might only have it for, 2 weeks, and then the next guy might have it for 4 months or whatever the fuck?
Because I don't want to spend too much time on this now, but like, when they put the belts on MJF, we're like, okay, well, he's going to have it for a year. Up until that, with AEW, it could happen. It seemed like it could happen at any given night or any given. Typically, it happens at a pay-per-view, right?
Well, it was defended way more too. That was another thing.
Sure.
Roman has not defended that title on free TV that much.
Neither has MJF.
But it's a good point. But that leads to the story that MJF is trying to tell. So I don't know. It's obvious. It's just a different way to tell a story, whether it's better or worse. That's your mileage may vary on that. But yeah, it's weird to look at these title reigns, because you would think, if the WWE wants to pull as many people into this fan base as possible, they would try to borrow at least some elements from what they were doing when they were the most successful, or at least when the most people were watching them and their product. So
let's go ahead and switch gears to AEW. Speaking of titles and defending on a promotion that isn't yours, the AAA Championship was defended on Rampage last Friday night after Smackdown. My only note from this was Dralistico versus Commander versus Vikingo, and then Buddy in capital letters. They are wild. Yeah. Vikingo retains. Wild shit, top to bottom.
I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Again,
this was one of those, you need no story. Just go out there and fucking go nuts.
And that's fine. You don't need a complicated story all the time, I don't think. But I saw some people online being like, oh, this is shit, this is phony, blah, 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 blah. And I was trying to think, it's like, what's an analogy that I could try to pull to explain like how stupid this is? And the first thing that came to mind was like, if you watch that AAA match on Rampage and just were like, this is bullshit, this is fucking stupid, it's a little bit like listening to an album by Metallica. It's like listening to Enter Sandman and being like, this shit's stupid, it doesn't have any trumpet solos. And you'd be like, well, yeah, dude, it's fucking Metallica. It's not jazz. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, if you want trumpet solos, there's a whole genre of music you can go listen to that has trumpet solos. If you want power chords and fucking dudes screaming, like, Metallica's your shit. Like, this is just And I think it's because people haven't thought of professional wrestling really as an art form. But it is. And there are different ways to tell stories, and there are different styles. That match was a Lucha Libre match. If you are not familiar with Lucha Libre, that's how that shit goes. That's what it looks like. It doesn't make it better or worse than any kind of wrestling. It just makes it different.
But after, this is going to sound like I'm shitting on it. After sitting through SmackDown for 2 hours, and then you just switch gears, and this is the first fucking match.
Yeah.
Of Rampage. And Rampage is not always fun.
No.
You might have a good match, sometimes 2 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
But boy, this makes up for whatever else happened in the show. I didn't make any other notes, but like, I mean, that's worth the hour right there.
Yeah, it's something different to watch. And I think if you're AEW, there's a lot of reason to program stuff like this, particularly right after Friday Night SmackDown. And you go, oh yeah, the first match. Okay, here's 3 luchadors, and they're going to show you something different that you weren't able to see for these past 2 hours you've been watching wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that we live in an age now where there's competition like that, because for the longest, really for the last 2 decades, there hasn't been any of that. There's been one game in town. And so, yeah, the people that just want to, I think AEW gets a lot of hate. You know, I don't even really know why. I guess just because the new kid on the block maybe has something to do with people are annoyed by Tony Khan or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. They just take it. They take out what I feel is like a lot of unfair criticism a lot of the time.
So, having said that, let's switch gears real quick to Tony Khan before we get into Dynamite. You know, he had said not long ago that he was going to try to make a point not to be on TV all the time. He's been on TV the last 3 fucking weeks. All of these things don't have to be special announcements.
Yeah.
A couple of them I get, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to come on last night and announce the main event for next week.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be done. Let fucking Shivani or Taz or, you know, any of them, Excalibur, let them do it.
Yeah, if this is what he thinks draws ratings, or this is a move to draw ratings, it's you know.
I get that you want to come on and be the guy that announces the big new show.
Yeah.
Right? Did he need to come on 2 weeks ago and announce that it's going to be Chicago? No.
Yeah.
Hey, Baxter.
Baxter doesn't like it either.
Baxter's saying what's up to Patrick.
Yes.
He didn't need to come on last night and announce the main event.
Yeah. Although it did make for some good memes.
I mean, always.
I did see one that was like the graphic, and it said like Tony Khan's going to make a special announcement that KFC's bringing back potato wedges, which was just fantastic. But yeah, I don't know why he's doing it. Oh,
sorry, y'all. My dog is wilding.
He doesn't like me. Oh, he's still going on.
Yeah, it is a bit too much. I get that he needs to come on and announce Collision, even though we all knew it was coming. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
but let Excalibur do the rest, man.
Yeah,
it's fucking pro.
Or just go full bore and just say fuck it. I'm gonna be a character now.
No, man. He doesn't have it.
I mean, yeah, I don't. That's probably a bad move. Yeah, it's probably not a good move.
We'll get to the main event of Collision shortly, even though we didn't put it in the notes. But let's get to Casssidy versus Swerve. I genuinely thought, and I think I called this last week, that Swerve would win.
Yeah.
So if they didn't put it on Swerve last night, what are they doing with Casssidy? I love Casssidy. I love that he's out there every goddamn week defending this title. And dude puts on a fucking show every goddamn week.
Yeah.
But if they didn't put it on Swerve last night, who gets it? Because these dudes beat each other's ass.
Yeah.
For damn near 20 minutes last night.
Another great showing by Swerve. He continues to just be.
And Casssidy.
And Casssidy. But we know what Casssidy is. Casssidy he's been positioned as a top tier guy in AEW. Swerve has kind of, he has the tag team with Keith Lee, And then he just kind of, they have the start and stop with Mogul. What was it at first? Mogul Affiliates, now Mogul Embassy.
Yeah. They've
kind of stopped and started with that. Now they're trying to get it back going again. This is probably the group of guys he should have been paired with from the get-go.
Yeah.
Dudes who actually are ready to be on television. But yeah, it's a good question. If he doesn't win it, who does it? Do we see Chuck Taylor and Trent turn on him? I don't know.
Don't do that.
I don't know what happens.
I mean, it's probably the obvious choice, but
yeah,
break my heart.
I just think it would be funny if like Casssidy keeps coming out and more body parts are just taped up until at some point both of his arms are completely taped.
So this is a legit question for me.
Yeah.
What does the tape do?
It just sells it visually. It doesn't do anything.
It just sells
it just sells that you're hurt.
Okay, so there's no real fucking...
No, he's not actually hurt.
I was like, that tape ain't doing shit.
No, you just gotta tape it up. It's a telltale sign. Like, if a wrestler comes walking out and his ribs are taped,
I've been meaning to ask you that for fucking months.
Yeah. Yeah, the tape on the wrist does help support your wrist.
Sure.
And like I told you, like I wrestled one time without, I always wore wrist tape, wrestled one time without. I was just like, I'm never fucking doing that again.
Yeah.
It just hurts. But
yeah,
the rest of it, like the elbow.
So if y'all have any ideas about who should be the guy to take down Casssidy, holler at us at Alabama Slam Pod on Twitter. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it'll happen on like the debut episode of Collision or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're saving it for, and it will ultimately end up being somebody like Swerve.
Yeah.
They just got to wait till June 17th, whatever. Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, less than that.
Yeah.
Today's the 8th.
Yeah.
So next up, Adam Cole interrupts MJF's promo. You called it. Cole would be the next guy to get into a situation with MJF.
Yeah, it kind of made the most sense. Cole coming back from his injury. MJF needs another guy he can feud with. I thought the promo was good. I don't know if it had the same type of effects that like the first 4 pillar promo had, or any of like the opening promos where MJF's out there and someone cuts him off or something. His first interaction, face-to-face reaction with Ricky Starks. We had a whole episode about that because how fantastic it was. This was just good, but it felt just kind of flat a little bit. Now MJF got some good dingers in there. He recited Adam Cole's famous Karrion Kross promo back to him.
Yeah, they just have to ring the bell.
Yeah. And then Cole got some good zingers in there as well. I also love that MJF like brought up the things that we've talked about, Adam Cole's body.
Yeah, but Cole doesn't look like he did when we were talking shit about Adam Cole. Cole looks a lot better now than he did then.
I don't. Still kind of looks the same to me. But I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, this is still like MJF is so good on the microphone.
Yeah.
And the crowd desperately deep down really just wants to cheer for this guy. That when you put somebody up against him that doesn't have a lot of like real true blue momentum behind them, the way that like Ricky Starks did earlier this year, at some point MJF just kind of dominates the whole interaction. And I'm not saying that the fans don't love Adam Cole. They do.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he still gets a huge pop.
I think some of the pop might just be because they like saying Adam Cole, baby. Because they weren't making that much noise, double or nothing, in that match.
Because that match sucked.
Yeah. And like
as much as I wanted to be into that, and I kind of turned into a guy that likes Adam Cole post concussion, like, it just was not good.
I think this will be the true test for Adam Cole.
Yeah, for sure.
And what his ceiling is in AEW, because here he is, the best dude on the roster, hands down, on the mic, in the ring, just the total package of everything.
So, look, briefly, MJF has been paid, or will be paid, because you don't let this motherfucker go out and talk about the other company as much as he does.
I would hope not, but I don't. don't know at this point. I mean, you just brought up the point. This is coming from the same guy who said in Tony Khan that he didn't want to be on TV every week, and he's been on TV now for the past 4 weeks. This is also the dude in Tony Khan that said Rampage wasn't going to be a B show, and it's what I guess he was right in that. It's become like a C- show,
Yeah.
so I guess he wasn't telling them to lie there.
So, but we do know this about Tony. He loves talking shit on WWE.
That is true.
So this has got to be. I mean, look.
Yeah.
What's happening here if that's not the case?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I would hope that they are not going to let this dude mention WWE every week if he was not signed to a long-term deal. But with this company, I have no idea what to expect.
So real quick, before we'll get into a little bit of a wrap up on. Let's just talk about the actual shows before we talk about Forbidden Door. The main event that we alluded to earlier with Collision is going to be FTR and CM Punk, who were about to start a thing before he got injured last time, right?
CM FTR.
Yeah. Versus Samoa Joe versus
Jay White and Juice
White
Robinson.
and Juice Robinson. I mean, that sounds fun as shit. And that's a way to ease Punk back into it, not put him on one-on-one versus somebody to have to carry a match for 20 minutes.
Yep.
He can get some in-ring action, right?
Yeah.
With his old buddies and consummate professionals, FTR.
Yeah.
Gonna be fun. That's, I think, the only announcement for Collision so far, right?
Yeah, other than like they keep showing the posters. I see on Facebook that has the posters have Scorpio Sky on it. They have House of Black.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Scorpio Sky was in it. Miro was on the poster. Thunder Rosa, FTR, CM Punk, obviously. I mean, we'll see. Does this mean Jay White is on Collision full time going forward? Like we alluded to a couple weeks ago when he signed with AEW, like, hey, maybe he got word that like, hey, when you first come in these first couple weeks, we don't really have a lot for you, but like we're about to split the shows. We're going to have 2 other hours of programming. You're going to be a top guy on the Saturday night show. Like, I don't know.
And talk about a dude that's in shape.
Oh yeah, he's incredible. He's incredible.
That dude takes off his shirt and he's got like a 12-pack.
And again, I don't want to like belabor and like be a fucking pissy dickhead about Adam Cole, but like Jay White is what Adam Cole should be. They're basically the same character.
He got a half a case.
Yeah. And Jay White, looks like $1 million. And it's going to be really cool if CM Punk's going to be his first feud, because the main event of Dynamite obviously saw what looks to be the Guns are going to be in Bullet Club, which is, I think, an excellent place for those guys to be at.
Yeah.
And you add 2 more guys to Bullet Club Gold. Ricky Starks is kind of the odd man out in this Collision thing because, like, he's feuding up against Jay White and Juice, and then the first main event of what could be, if Collision is super successful, this is sort of a groundbreaking moment for AEW, and he is left off the main event, and they replace him with Samoa Joe, who has no sort of, or not replace him with Samoa Joe, they replace him with FTR to go up against Jay White.
It is a little
Juice.
odd, yeah. But are you just shifting gears pretty quick on that storyline to put Starks versus somebody else in a feud?
Well, I don't know. You would hope at some point Starks gets his comeuppance, right? Against Jay White specifically?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
Bullet Club Gold's just feuding with everybody.
Yeah, they just wilded.
They're pissed at FTR. They're pissed at Ricky Starks. Come Saturday, 2 weeks, looks like they're probably going to be pissed at CM Punk.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun night of TV, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. We'll see what the rest of the card looks like. I'm really curious to see too how it is distinct as a brand in terms of the broadcasting, if they do that at all. If they change things up, be it lighting wise, camera shot wise, if there's anything like that.
Yeah.
Also, the commentary team. Is the commentary team going to be different?
They haven't announced it, yeah.
Is it going to be Excalibur and Taz? Is it going to be Renee and somebody? Like, who will it be? I don't know.
It's going to be, they haven't made any announcements. There's been a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
Forbidden Door, let's touch on that real quick. God damn it, dog. Yeah,
I'm just sitting here.
my dog does not like people in this apartment. So a couple of matches confirmed, right? Danielson versus Okada.
Mm-hmm.
Wild shit right there, just from the video package they released.
Yeah. I mean, you had Moxley and was it Mox, Cesaro, and Yuta? I said Cesaro. Claudio cost me. My bad. Claudio were in Japan for the Dominion event. And then, yeah, Moxley just seems like we brought a message. And fucking Danielson pops up on the screen. I was watching it on Twitter. I was like, oh, fucking shit. And then, yeah, he calls out Okada. Danielson says, you're the Rainmaker, but I'm going to drag you to the fucking desert. Just, I mean.
Let's go, baby.
What a world we live in. Where here is perhaps, and Bryan Danielson, the best wrestler of his generation, maybe the best wrestler of all time, and going up against what many consider to be the best wrestler of all time in Japan. And they're just going to fucking wrestle each other on a pay-per-view. And then not only that, the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay feud is just going to continue.
Let me say this. As much as I talk shit on Bleacher Report and say I don't want to pay for this shit, I will gladly pay $50 for those two matches alone.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else over this is fucking gravy, right?
Yeah.
God damn it. Y'all, please be patient. We're just trying to... this dog. Those two matches alone are worth $50. $50.
I would pay for it right now. If I didn't think it would fuck up and be like, the night of, be like, oh, you actually didn't pay. Like, yeah, I paid fucking right after I watched the Bryan Danielson promo 4.5 weeks ago.
I don't think that I should go ahead and fucking pay for it. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Because I tried an hour and a half. Did I go through this whole shit?
Yeah, you went through this, yeah.
Yeah, this is some horse shit. I'm not doing that at the last minute this time.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay for that shit in advance. Make sure it's unlocked because those two matches. Let's go. What else could they announce?
You know, here's the thing. We give AEW a lot of shit for their booking, and rightfully so. But then they do something like this where they just randomly on the weekend be like, here's our two matches for this pay-per-view coming up. And the whole fucking internet just loses its shit.
Yeah.
So, like, they do have a lot of gravitas to just be like, here's some free shit. Here's some shit we're just going to drop on Twitter.
It does feel weird because last year it was like all of these announcements came on Dynamite.
Well, I think if you'll remember last year, there was a lot of like New Japan focus on AEW. And I think part of the reason maybe they were doing that is because this was the first time they were doing that event.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need guys like Tanahashi and Okada and those kind of guys on AEW television. And maybe what's happening this year is they were like, okay, last year we had to take we basically had to press pause on AEW to do this Forbidden Door event. We don't want to do that this year. The American audiences know who these guys are, or at the very least, they can fucking research it. So let's just drop it on there and drop it on Twitter for free, and just announce it. Put a graphic up.
Yeah, it is. It is a little weird, but that doesn't make sense now that you mention it.
And I mean, that just could be one reason why. So, because that was our big complaint last year. I remember Forbidden Door being like, "Hey, it's cool, but like." It's basically just become a New Japan show for these 3 weeks.
Right.
So, I'm hyped about it. We'll see what else gets added. But like you said, those two matches in and of themselves are well worth the $50.
I mean,
this could be, in terms of just wrestling quality, the greatest pay-per-view that's ever been put together. And I don't think that's overselling it in the least bit. Those two matches alone could be... I think actually will be phenomenal.
Can we get it on something other than Bleacher Report?
No, you're going to get it on Bleacher Report.
God damn.
That's where it's going to be.
It's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I want to get into a comment and a question from a listener. Jordan Fisher commented on the post that was on the Alabama Take website with the podcast. Last week he said, I've enjoyed listening to this podcast every Friday while I'm at work. Patrick's insights and booking ideas are always fun to listen to. I remember only making it to one Mr. Ego match. If y'all are just checking out, Mr. Ego is Patrick's former wrestling persona.
Yeah.
15 years ago? Was it that long?
Am I that fucking old?
You're still young compared to my old ass.
14. Yeah, I guess 4. No,
Okay.
Yeah, 13, 14 years.
It says, I remember only making it to one Mr. Ego match and later seeing him with the championship belt at school one day, our senior year. Did you tell me you got a championship, or did you just walk around with it?
No, I won one. I won a couple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was tag champs, and
Did I know that?
I don't know if I talked about that. On
Oh,
this
be
podcast.
goddamn.
I need to try to find the picture.
Yeah, let's go, baby. And then he says, I'm looking forward to the next episode, guys. Random question to pick your brains. How different do you think the wrestling world would be if Triple H stayed with China?
Well, first off, shout out. What's up, Jordan? Hope you're doing well out there. Listen, this could be one of those like big time sliding door moments, you know. Obviously, we know what China's life ended up becoming. Downward spiral, her post WWE career. I don't really know. I mean, if we run it back and say, okay, so Triple H never married Stephanie. I mean, obviously he then does not become what he is in WWE management. Does that make it any different? I don't know. Because does Shane McMahon just slate into that role? And we know how like forward thinking Shane McMahon was in the 90s. He tried to get Vince to buy UFC. Shane was one of the driving forces behind the WWE.com website push.
Here comes the money.
Yeah, like he kind of saw where things were going. WWE could be radically different, could be not different at all. It's really impossible to tell. Wrestling has a little. There's so much like that where it's like if this thing in wrestling history goes the other way, how different is just the landscape of what we love today. There's a lot of moments like that, which are kind of like, you know, what if the NWA bands together and they fucking beat Vince McMahon? You know, I mean, they tried, they couldn't because Vince McMahon was a shrewd businessman. But what if they do?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, there's moments like that. You know, what if the fucking federal government came down really hard on Vince in the steroid trials? What if that shit goes another way? I mean,
yeah,
we should do it. And in a lot of ways, like Dark Side of the Ring kind of covers this, but it would be cool to kind of do a podcast series about like, you know, what if all these things that happened in wrestling just had gone the other way? Like, and try to predict how much different things would become, you know? What if Stone Cold never gets released and never goes to ECW to actually become Stone Cold and he just becomes like the ringmaster and he just stays that way? And he becomes like what Fit Finlay was in the mid 2000s, which is just like a dude who's a really good technician, but not really a superstar.
It's a good question. You know, we talk shit on Vince, but somebody somewhere along the way was like, this is what, you know, you need to be doing. It's Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Or agreed with it.
Yeah.
Last but not least for the week, rest in peace, Iron Sheik.
Sheiky Baby.
Sheiky Baby. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
You are not the real. You the jabroni of the earth.
His damn Howard Stern interview, if you've never listened to it.
I saw part of it on TikTok.
Please go find it.
Talking about the first time he disrespected him. And then the second time he motherfucker stood up in the studio. He was so mad.
Yeah. And I remember there's an iconic moment where a caller comes in pretending to be Macho Man Randy Savage, and Sheik starts to try to take his pants down. And he's like, I'll take my 10-inch cock. I'll fuck you. I'll fuck your mother. I'll fuck your brother.
So how much of the last couple of years was like other people tweeting for Sheik?
I think a lot.
Like all of it?
Yeah, a lot. All of it.
There was like a Rolling Stone thing of like his top musical tweets.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's times like these, I put you in the camel clutch or some shit like that. You know, like, love that shit.
He was, you know, the best villain, one of the best villains of the 80s. Relentlessly entertaining. Despite not being able to, you know, obviously he spoke English, but not being like a native, like English speaker, he had so much charisma that just kind of carried. There's even little things he would do, like telling the cameraman, like, cameraman, zoom in, and he'd fucking flex in front of the thing, and they would zoom in. Like, it was just great. Like, He was, for a lot of people, he was their childhood.
He was a lot of my childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I first got back into wrestling several years ago, 4 years ago or something like that now, was around the time that documentary about him came out.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and it was talking about his struggles and shit after wrestling. You know, every time I bring up Iron Sheik, Carter talks about him dragging his fucking leg behind him, and his fucking ankle was broken. He's just dragging that leg because he couldn't get medical help.
Yeah.
Right. Just tragic.
It's crazy, man. The things that happened to those guys. You know, these dudes were such larger than life figures in the 80s. And then unfortunately, you know, age catches up with a lot of these guys. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of dudes of his generation, first of all, they didn't even live to make it as long as what Sheik did.
Right. 81?
81. And yeah, and then a lot of those guys died young. A lot of those guys, you know, unfortunately, Sheik's story with his medical history is not a unique one. A lot of dudes like that were broken for a long time. They weren't smart with their money, and, you know, because they're not a union, there's not health insurance after the fact. Like, and in a lot of ways, it's still that way in WWE. These men and women kind of come through, they get chewed up, they get spit out. You know, we remember the names like John Cena and Iron Sheik and that kind of stuff like that, right? But there's a whole litany of people who were there for 1, 2, 3 years.
I don't want to say big, but I'm a Funko Pop collector, and that was the first wrestling Funko Pop I got. Yeah. Jamie and Carter got it for me after we watched that documentary. Yeah, man. Rest in peace to the Sheik. You the jabroni. You know, there was an emotional response from The Rock a couple days ago, about how, you know, he got jabroni from the Sheik.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, like, listen, Rock is living the life he's living because a lot of dudes like Sheik paved the way.
Yeah.
You know, The Rock is able to benefit from guys like Sheik and Hogan and Macho Man and Roddy Piper, all these dudes who made wrestling so huge in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's why Rock catapulted that success and rode the coattails of those guys, who paved the way for him into being the biggest movie star in the world right now.
And one of the things I learned from the documentary, not to go, I mean, we could keep talking, but, like, you know, kayfabe was pretty much broken up because he got arrested.
Yeah.
Right, with the dude he was just feuding with. I don't remember the details.
I think it was cocaine.
Yeah, it was coke. Like, dude he was on TV with like 2 hours ago in the car after the show.
Yeah.
You know, they get busted with cocaine. I'm like, oh, why you guys sitting in the car together? Y'all supposed to be fighting.
Yeah, well, you know.
And this was, you know, way before social media and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a reality to it. Like, back then, you know, I fucking thought, okay. And apparently they did hate each other, but, like, I thought Hulk and the Sheik hated each other. Like,
yeah.
This was a thing, you know. To me, shit was real when I was 7.
Yeah, you know, Sheik always had that line, he made Hulk Hogan, and there's a lot of truth to that, you know. For you to have a super over good guy, you have to have a super over bad guy that lays down for him.
Hey, and we'll go out on this. Fuck the Hulk Hogan for never giving Sheiky another shot. She gave him the shot and said, hey, let's give this belt to you.
Look, there's probably a lot of guys who have fuck Hulk Hogan stories out there. Hulk Hogan, for being as big as he is, he doesn't have a lot of people in his corner.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate y'all listening to us every week at Alabama Slam Pod on Instagram and Twitter. We are on Facebook at the Alabama Slam Podcast. Got a really fun episode next week with a couple of guests, unless something happens. Don't want to spill too much right now. Please follow the Alabama Take on all the social medias. That's our network of other folks. We got several other podcasts on our network. Books, Star Wars, pop culture, music. Did I say sports already? Possibly another sports podcast coming soon. Writers posting essays and think pieces every week. I'm going to
start writing again for the site. I decided.
Patrick said he's going to start writing again.
Breaking news.
You
know what I'm going to write about? Take a guess. I'll give you one guess about what I'm going to write about.
Dominik Mysterio.
Chris Gaines.
God damn.
Garth Brooks' alter ego.
There's some breaking news for you right there.
Off the heels of Garth Brooks saying that there's potentially going to be 5 more Chris Gaines albums.
I thought that was some bullshit from like the Hard Times or something like that.
I don't know if it is. It could have been. I could have got fake fake news bamboozle. I'll just say this. I have been infatuated and enamored and perplexed by the mystery that is Chris Gaines.
Let's go.
And so I ordered the fucking CD off Amazon today to listen to the Chris Gaines Gaze hits. Turns out...
Is that shit not on, like, Apple Music?
Oh, dog. Garth Brooks is not anywhere on Apple Music or Spotify.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't find that shit. He's the last one. He's the last outlaw out there in the fucking CD world. It's just him. Yeah, he's the last samurai. So I had to fucking ordered it from like a pawn shop in Colorado. Should be here on like, I think it said the 19th. Chris Gaines' greatest hits.
If you need a good cry, it's sitting in your recliner on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Go back to the AlabamaTake.com. About a year ago, what was the name of the piece that you wrote about little boys with sticks?
Oh, Southern Boys and Sticks coming up on the eve of Father's Day. Yeah.
Go back and read that. I cried sitting in my recliner on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Just if you're a father and you got a little boy, go read it. I encourage you to do that. Man. If you got a question for us, send it to us on Twitter at Alabama Slam Pod. We'd love to answer it, and we'll see you guys next Friday.
Long live Chris Gaines.
And Sheiky Baby.
And Sheiky Baby.